Hey. This is Cornelius James, and this is the Black Thought Interview. And today we have a special guest, Cameron Bonner. He's a social activist, he's a political activist, a big brother to the hood, a counselor, advisor, and he coaches Little League. Great interview. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
You're now tuned in to F.U.L. Podcast Show, where family unites listeners and listeners become family. Now allow me to introduce your host, Cornelius James and Mr. Info Joe. And oh yeah, F you.
Come and talk deserves a walk. Come and talk deserves a walk. Come and talk deserves a walk. Commentating, illustrating.
We created this podcast for the people, for the comments that's not represented. But now we got a voice. Yeah, now we got a voice.
F.U.L. Podcast Show. F.U.L. Podcast Show. F.U.L. Podcast Show.
Hey, what's happening, y'all? This is Cornelius James, F.U.L. Podcast, and this is the Black Thought Interview. And today I am very happy to have one of my best friends, really like a big brother to me, Cameron Bonner. He's a social activist, a political activist, a big brother to the hood, a counselor, an advisor, a coach of Little League, and I know I'm missing something. So, Mr. Bonner, can you please tell the folks, first of all, let's welcome them to the show, F.U.L. Podcast. And Mr. Bonner, can you please tell us a little more about yourself?
Well, blessings to all the people that's listening to your show, and thank you for providing a vehicle and a venue to be able to express oneself. So I appreciate that, Black. Basically, I'm a community servant. I stand on the fact that, community, if you break it down, means common unity. And so what I try to do is have a common energy with people in my community and find out what's needed. And I just tried to become what it was I was missing. I wanted to become that black man that got off work stinking and dirty and tired, but pulled up at the park and coached the kids and fed them little hot dogs or whatever, they were hungry. And most of those kids that were playing at the time or part of our team, really our little meal or lunch was pretty much the most they would eat that day. So basically, I always tell people that I'm a community servant, and I enjoy hearing the word coach, Coach Cam or Coach C, because to be a coach is actually become a teacher. So those are the things that I do in the community.
Well, we're going to get a little deeper later because there's so many levels to the game of things you've accomplished and still doing. You're doing the trench work. Well, let's just start off first how we do with these questions. And I've asked a lot of people this same question here, and I always got a different answer. I'll start off by saying, what do you prefer to be called? Black, Afro-American, African-American, colored, or why? And why, rather?
In reality, titles or names to address who we are. I prefer you to call me Mr. or Coach C. Reason why I say that, let's be honest, man. We didn't pick the color of our skin. We didn't pick the race. And I can see if I chose, like you choose your hair color. You can change your hair color. I can cut my hair. But I had nothing to do with my blackness. So the title, what you're giving me, is really irrelevant. It's what we are as a people. If we can find a common ground on that. So, I don't get stuck on semantics on today I'm colored, Negro, African American, Black. Because reality, if you really break it down, we've had so many names, but we're not African. Because if you go break down the real true meaning of the name of where it came from, it was a Spaniard man that conquered the continent, and they named Africanus after him. So, you think about it, it's like, how could I take a name that really wasn't my name? or the country that, we didn't have, that's not the actual name of the continent. So, until we find out what the real name is, Hebrew or Egyptian or Libyan or whatever, I mean, it's different terminologies, but if you go back to the original terminology, it's like, just call me Mr. or Coach C.
Nice. Well, since I know you personally, and I know you do a lot of work with the youth, and I just want to ask you a personal question. What made you just activate, with some of those programs and that you started and that you're affiliated with? So can you first answer what made you activate, and can you list some of the programs you're affiliated with and you started?
Well, let me try to make it from the beginning. I think I've always had a desire to help from a kid, but being a kid, the thing that I remember, the things that used to really trouble me was that being bullied, I didn't have any big brothers, so I didn't have no defense system to protect me. But the things that I found out was that the majority of the people who were bullying me because they had things in their life to hide. And so as I got older, I didn't become what was hurting me. I didn't become a bully to now I'm taking kids' money and beating on women and pimping. What I decided to do is flip it. I decided to become that coach, that mentor that plants seeds on those kids. And I wanted to, like I said, I'm from the other side of the street story. I wanted to tell the story to those kids who were on the fence like me, who really didn't want to do wrong. But if you don't have an opportunity to have somebody with sense to show you right, then you're going to gravitate to negativity. So my job was to become what was missing in our community. My job was to become an activist and a black man that put things in our community as opposed to that's taking things from our community. So that's how I got started coaching, because some of the most important men in my life at the time were coaches. Coach Duncan up at Helen Keller, and, Mr. Griffin, and, you could name hundreds, not hundreds, but a few men and women, Beverly, these people worked every day and had their own families, but they came to the park after work in their uniforms, and they pulled up in that park against all the odds. They coached kids, they fed us, they hugged us, they talked to us. And for the kids that didn't have fathers in their lives, like me, I would sit in the van with the coaches and listen to them with things they were going through. I would sit around those guys and listen to those older coaches. And I found out what I wanted to be, as opposed to sitting around the homies and watching those older dudes, have them dudes throw bricks in windows and go to jail and shoot somebody. You see the difference, man. And that's what motivated me to want to make a difference.
So can you tell us a couple of programs that you're affiliated with or you started?
Well, let's go back. All right, 'cause I'm going to stay within my community, but I can go before that. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Jesse Jackson campaign in '88. And I only did that because prior to that, me and your brother, Joe, we used to ride around, the community, and they had a lot of problems in the 80s, late 80s with these swap meets. And like the Koreans owned all the swap meets, Slauson Swap Meet, Inglewood. All these swap meets were owned by Koreans. And what was powerful and really disrespectful was, first thing, they didn't hire black people. But second, they had a policy where if you bought something from them, it had to be in cash, and you couldn't return it. If you walked one step out their booth, and then with the wrong size, they wouldn't take it back. So it became a situation where, black folks just felt cheated and ripped off because it was all this junk being sold in our community. But they wouldn't hire us. They don't respect us. And so we started getting involved in protesting and picketing them. And it's amazing how many black folks will run you over to get up in there to get their nails done and hair done and buy all that crap. And then once they got disrespected, they would come out and tell us the story. So being a part of that helped me to realize, hold up, I'm out here trying to stop this mess. But right back in my neighborhood, it's all this killing and shooting going on in my community. why can't I get involved and help and stop that? Then we can start working with the world. And so what I helped do is come back to the community. We started coaching first. And we started doing a baseball program that what we were trying to do was mimic what was done to us, where, Helen Keller used to be the hub of, baseball players, Little League, and, high school players would wind up going to high school playing because we learned to play the game right.
Okay, excuse me. I just wanted to let the FUL fam know that Helen Keller is a park. It's basically off of El Segundo in Vermont. So continue, please, Country.
Yeah, and it's in L.A., South L.A., California. And the fun part was, back in the day, in the 70s, the most amazing thing that all the kids like us had was that park. And so in the 90s, 80s, 90s, we wanted to recreate that because a lot of the coaches got older. They moved on with their lives. But there was this divide. And so I always used to have a really bad feeling towards older black males because my energy at the time was this. The father figures that we were supposed to have left us. The Vietnam era men, the baby boomers, they left us. And then when they came home from the war and all that, they had jobs, they had cars, they had money. Yeah, they had problems, but rather than come back and fill that void, there was this divide where there were no men coaching our kids no more. There was no older men mentoring us. So that's where the gangs came into play. And that's when, if you break down how it went down, a boy can't become a man unless he held a man's hand. Meaning, in order for us to become men, we got to see men. And so when the only grown men you seen were the ones that was pimping, selling drugs, or beating other women, it's like that became our motto. Everybody wanted to have a perm, slap on bitches, pimp, have a bunch of women. And it became a problem where it wasn't right. And so when we got started, we just said, you know what, we can't attack our community for what they're doing, but will the community allow us to help those kids that are on the fence? And so that's what we did, Black.
Okay, so let me just make sure we're on course. So in '88, you with the Jesse Jackson program,
yes.
And then you moved to coaching.
Yes.
Okay, and where we at now? I know so many.
Being involved in the coaching, ran into some personal issues within. One thing you have to be careful with is you got to be careful what you ask for because you'll get it. And if you're not ready for what you're asking for, you'll mess it up. So, you bring people on board and things start happening that shouldn't have been happening. And, especially when it comes to money, the program basically was doomed to fail. So from that, when I seen that happen, I stepped back for a minute and said, you know what, I know some of these guys are my buddies, but I wasn't in it for money. I was in it to help change lives. And so after that, I became, again, deeper into the community. I had a friend named Ted Hayes that he's a homeless activist at the time. And I became deeper involved in helping the homeless. And that was an experience in itself because you learn so much, as far as why people are out there. And, you see a guy laying on a bench, or sitting there with a tent and wonder how he got there. And in reality, some of those people want to be there. And, it changed me because all the time I was down there helping the homeless, I had one eye looking back to my community saying, okay, isn't it amazing that a lot of the guys that I know who was OGs wind up down here on Skid Row. When they get, locked up and they get out, when they get older and their family gone and they still got an addiction problem, they wind up downtown. And, it's a sad thing to see, but, most of those brothers and sisters go down there because you can hide. Misery love company. And so you can hide amongst the most miserable people because you're miserable too. And so once I saw the things down there, it just made me want to fight harder for our children, for our family. So in doing that,
let me just add this, if I can, to Ted Hayes situation with the Igloos. You took me down there, and I never didn't understand the homeless situation, but it was definitely an enlightening experience, just seeing what the services they were providing with the homes and the Igloos. I'm forever changed for that, so I appreciate you sharing that journey with me too. So sorry.
No. That was, matter of fact, it was called the Dome Village, and there were geodesic domes that were designed to withstand earthquakes, floods, everything. And what was amazing about those little pods, those domes, was they worked. But the only problem that I saw that, even to this day, is solutions aren't really needed and wanted in the inner city. And meaning that there's money in crime and there's money in destruction. You look at what happened in Katrina. They poured billions of dollars into Katrina, but where did it go? It didn't go to the community. It didn't go to the people. It didn't reach the street. Red Cross, all the different, their money went to them. And so when you see that, it makes you kind of, hard. It makes you cold in the sense that it's like, what? We need to figure out a way around this because, right now, the government is not going to help us help ourselves. So from that, I had a fortunate opportunity. To be honest, I got hooked up with K-Day and KJLH around the same time and started doing...
These are the local radio stations in California.
True. Matter of fact, 1580 K-Day AM, that's no longer in existence, or AM, that was the original station that hip-hop was basically born on. NWA and all of them came out of 1580 K-Day. And I was blessed to be a part of the promotional side of that station because a gentleman named Roy Kaufman allowed me to work with promotions, and we would go to every community, Watts, South Central, Compton, and we did showcases, we did performances, we did, community service. But being a part of that, what it did was it took away my fear of my community because I realized everybody is looking for something. And if you are sincere, your heart is real, people will embrace you. And that's what motivated me to continue to become a community servant, because when we wind up going over to KJLH, which is a Stevie Wonder station, we had a bigger voice. Now that's FM, and it was more respected adult station, but they allowed us to bring hip hop onto the station. And, fortunately, what I was able to do is bring, young brothers like yourselves along for the ride as far as playing y'all music, talking about y'all, bringing y'all to performances. And, that's one of my journeys that I can say that, to me, the most grateful thing I can actually say is thank you to you and your brother, Rick, was in meeting you young gentlemen and watching y'all develop in the young men and fathers, but as artists, is one of my proudest things, because I remember when I came back from Hawaii, I went to school in Hawaii, and I never forget.
Thank you, sir. I'm humbled and likewise.
It's true. I mean, when I came back, your brother came over to Mom's house, met me over there, and he was explaining to me that he got this new thing he's doing. Well, it wasn't new, but it was new to me, that y'all want to be rappers. And so he started doing a rhyme to me, which was at the time like Jamaica Funk Groove when he wanted to write it. But he did a little rhyme for me, and then he explained to me he showed me a tape that he did at the showcase at Washington called Cigarette. And so he asked me, what I think and could I help him. And so I said, well, I'm not into music. My cousin's into music, but, what kind of help do you want? And he said, I need to get some shows. So I said, well, he challenged me to get some shows, and then he would offer me the opportunity to manage. And at the time, I wasn't doing anything of significance, so it's like, okay. So I think the first thing we did was the name of the game. I got him in there. And then from there, I think we got a showcase, actually on K-Day. We did the Pringles thing at the Black Family Reunion. And from those two events, I think a couple performances, I met Rick Rock, his DJ, and then Cut. And then it became like a thing where I had to earn all of y'all respect because I was really working with Joe. But y'all, you, Black, Cut, and Rick really didn't trust me. So it was like, okay, you know, I'm still trying to do my thing to impress y'all, but I could hear deep down that, well, we are old men. We're going to do all, but y'all would come perform with Joe, but y'all still had your own thing. So for me, that wasn't a bad thing because what it did for me is make me work harder to prove that I can make stuff happen. And I think, you know, we want to get on the Gong Show. And that's a funny story because, you know, I got y'all to perform on it, you know, through persistence. And what was fun was to see y'all performing on a TV show was amazing to me, primarily because it wasn't funny to them no more. I mean, the record was supposed to be funny, cigarettes, but I can see in the eyes of the judges that y'all performance was beyond what they anticipated. And that's what made me continuously say, you know what? These brothers got a voice. I got an energy. And
so, Cameron, we got to interrupt it, but you were discussing that how you seen the judges didn't see it so funny on the Gong Show now, and you realized what?
The talent was there. I mean, all right, you got to remember, you guys were young, a little while, and then my biggest battle was Rick. You know, at the time, Rick was wearing, him and Cut would wear those Daniel Boone hats and the big old Dookie gold chains, and so my vision of you guys was the West Coast should come with y'all own flavor. Y'all should be able to rock something different. Don't look like the New Yorkers. Look like y'all from West. And so me and him argued that whole day about wearing that coonskin hat and them chains. And so finally I gave up. I'm like, you know what? Do what you got to do, Rick. I don't manage you anyway. So if you don't want me on your team, I said, I'm just looking out because I want you guys to be performers and artists, not just rappers. And I think that day, Rick, after y'all performed, he saw what I was saying. Because remember, you know, when I was working with K-Day, we used to do a performing arts class at Kelly Park in Compton. And one of the stickler things that we used to try to do was work with artists that perform. And we wanted you guys to be full artists. We didn't want you to just be rappers. You know, we wanted y'all to know how to control the stage, how to hold a microphone, and how to entertain people. And that was my goal for you guys was I didn't want y'all to just look like rappers. I wanted y'all to look like entertainers. So from that...
In retrospect, I look at it and I get it, too. But, you know, you trying to tell some 16-year-olds, you know, that think they know everything at 16. No.
Yeah. Well, and that's the battle that I had was my vision was like, how could I say it? I was a little ahead of y'all on the steps of I could see something that y'all couldn't see because y'all was in the center of the storm. and my energy was, okay, how could I help these brothers sell themselves to the world? How could I get to, you know, you could make records and you could do all that, but it's that it thing that makes people want to go buy your record.
Well, listen, not just I want to spin it real quick. Speaking of sale, I needed to mention that you're also an entrepreneur, and you are the founding father of a company that I was affiliated with as a salesperson with, and it was the Jimmy hats. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because that was a monumental point in my eyes.
Yeah, you know what's amazing is you know, some of the craziest things happen for crazy reasons, and you can't explain it. But me and Jolly Joe, we used to walk around in the supermarkets talking about inventions. You know, this is before the internet and all that. And we always used to try to think of little silly stuff to impress each other. And I remember one day I was walking with him and I mentioned, you know, I'm going to make a Jimmy hat, a condom hat. And he just laughed at it. Oh, man, you know, because it didn't make sense at the time. But for me, what Joe didn't know, I had been going on looking at what would be cool. And so, excuse me, I had a gentleman that I dealt with that had a jacket company called Jeff Hamilton at the time downtown. And I paid him to make me 2 leather hats with the name Jimmy on them, and, you know, and then I went and got this little thing and made them the actual Jimmy hat. And it was awful. It looked bad. It looked really bad. I mean, I was embarrassed to show y'all, to show anybody. And the funny part was I didn't give up. I realized, you know what, just go get a baseball cap and design it the way you want to, as opposed to just having to make a leather hat. And I wind up sneaking and making hang tags and labels, and then when I used to take the hats to the embroidery, nobody knew what Jimmy was. Nobody knew nothing. I used to just go to Korea and buy the hats. And then once I made 5 dozen, I'll never forget it. I made 5 dozen hats, and it was Lily, excuse me, that he went to, it was a Black family reunion one weekend at the Exposition Park. And, you know, I was too ashamed to go because I was afraid we wouldn't sell nothing. So Sherman, Lily, he took the 5 dozen from me that night. And he said, don't worry, I'll be up there at noon. And I said, well, I get off work because I'm working for the post office at the time. He said, man, I told him, I get off work at 2:30. I'll be down there at 3:30. It's okay. Now, what I did was I dallied around because I was so afraid that, you know, people were going to laugh at us. And when I got there, it was 3:45. I'll never forget. I get to the Exposition Park and it's full of people. I find a place to park, and I walk into the area where all the people were watching, listening to concerts and food, and all of a sudden, I look up, and there's Lily, and he has a box in his hand, but he's smiling. I say, what's happening? He opens the box, you know, and it's only 3 hats left.
Nice. Now, let me add something because you missed me. F.U.L. fans, let me describe this hat. Now, imagine a baseball hat, right? Looks nice hat, different colors and stuff, right? Like a fitted hat. And it says Jimmy over the front, right? Different colors. And on the side, it has a pouch, a clear pouch that you can see it's a condom in it. Whatever kind of condom you want to stuff in it. Even if you can reseal the clear patch. So it was really a Jimmy hat. Now, can you? Classic.
And that to me, what blew me away was when he opened the box and the only 3 left were the 3 that were defective, and he would have been able to sell those, but he, you know, quality control. He called him and said, "No, I can't sell you these." So he had a pocket full of money and all the confidence in the world, like, wow, man, people really want these things. And so that's when we came up with the name Over the Edge style, you know. And,
Over the Edge style,
you know,
yes.
You know, our whole energy was, you know, we wanted to go conform to everybody else. You know, we wanted to get over the edge. We wanted to, you know, create our own energy, and you know, y'all can be down with us. And so the movement that we came up with was the safe sex movement, because this is before Magic Johnson and all that. We were trying to promote a concept of safe sex in the hip-hop world and say, look, you know, you have the control, and it has to think in that, because it's like you put the hat on and, you know, hey, you can choose when you want to use it. You know, you can just keep it on as a advertising, whatever. But the fun part was even women like the hats. even, women would get the hats and buy them 3 at a time because of what the message said. So
it was beautiful. Can you you had a few other models, like, say, for instance, shirts. What else did you have? I know you had hats, right?
We did outfits. We had like a jersey, and you know what? Let's go like this, Black. I mean, what we were at the time, we were developing a brand, but unfortunately, when you go back in time, we didn't have anybody. Once again, if you follow me through where I'm going, I didn't have anybody to consult on how to protect what we were doing. I didn't have anybody to guide us to how to purchase orders and how to, how do you do it. Everything that I learned was trial and error, just like with you guys with the music, man. Booking studio time and how do you, do tracks and what, everything that we did was self-taught. We didn't have the internet.
I want you just to laugh how far, though, from a handful of brothers from the hood that started a line of what's that, over the edge clothing, and how far with no business acumen, and how far it got. I mean, what's the high point of Jimmy hats and over the edge?
Well, I can give you two. I think high points for me. One night, laying in bed, back then, Arsenio Hall show was like the place to be for black folks. Anybody was cool was watching Arsenio Hall. Now, about a week prior to that, this guy named J. Anthony Brown, he used to be he's a comedian, but at the time he used to be on air of KJLH, doing comedy, and he knew Rico and all these other people. And so he had asked me for a hat, but he didn't say why. And I gave him the Laker one, and I gave him another one. I remember giving him 2, because it was just people just asking me for hats all the time. So one night, I'm getting ready for bed, and long day in black. All of a sudden, Arsenio says, "I want to introduce something to you," and he says, "I want to bring to you the Jimmy hat," and he pulls out that Laker hat, that purple and gold hat. And you got to think about it, back then, anybody and everybody that was watching the show, the family, all seen it at the same time. And I almost jumped through the ceiling and literally screamed to the point where my phone wouldn't stop ringing. And then all my neighbors was watching it, and everybody was, it was a celebration because he didn't diss the hat. He made a funny joke about it, and he showed it. And, it was a free commercial.
Yes, it was.
It was so powerful, man. And all y'all calls, we were just, we arrived. Think about it, man. We had Arsenio Hall had advertised our hat for free, and we were on the map. And then another pinnacle was kind of similar to that, where we did, I think Channel 9 wanted to do a story. And so we met them at the Crenshaw Mall. And little did we know that they were going to do a feature where the thing is going to run on every newscast. But so many people seen that thing that they bought all our hats out of both of the stores in Fox Hill, and we couldn't keep them in there. And then we were like little celebrities because everywhere we went, people knew who we were. So, it just, again, the Jimmy hats and all of the ventures, I take pride in the fact that what it did, because if you remember, Black, we was in the paper, and the thing that I always take pride in, it wasn't my program. It wasn't my business. I told everybody that, hey, man, each one of y'all are CEOs. Each one of y'all have something y'all going to do, and we're going to support you. So I want you to learn every aspect of business. So when it's your turn, we're going to work for you. And that's what Over the Edge was I was trying to show y'all from within how to run your own camp. And the blessing that I always said was I couldn't have done that without y'all. I had ideas, but the blessing is, man, it changed all of us for the good in some way.
It did. What a journey. But I got to keep it moving because you've done some other things. I still want you to touch on some of them social programs you started.
Okay.
Touch on them.
Well, okay. And from that, I can go into, we did a peace rally. Remember in 92 in the Rodney King riots. Once again, we lived in an unincorporated area of the county of Los Angeles called West Athens. There is no mayor representation. We don't have city council representation. So in turn, there's nobody really to call for help when you're in an unincorporated area. So our community doesn't have industry. We don't have businesses. There's nothing. And so, consequently, our community got overlooked. And so, me being a community servant decided to stand up for my community and start to put West Athens on the map. I'm like, wait a minute. Our community exists. We got things, we got needs, and our community is crying. So I finally found out that, yes, we do have two representations in Congress. One of them is Congresswoman Maxine Waters and in the county supervisor's office, who, when I was a kid, I used to always see the name Kitty Hahn. And so much in every improvement that I thought Kitty Hahn was black. And it turns out he was a white man and, that cared about black people. So he did so much for our community. Well, when I got to be an activist, I learned that our county supervisor was named Yvonne Brathwaite Burke. And ironically, I had volunteered on her campaign to get that job. So I knew her chief of staff, different people. And the powerful thing that I'm just trying to share was that, no, when you volunteer, you don't get paid. But the wealth of connections and information that you get from doing that is way more than a check. And so I learned the game called networking. I learned how to connect with those people and those entities who have the position and they know where the resources are. And I began to connect with those people and send resources back to our community. We had at the time, the Rodney King Rebellion, we had a peace rally at Helen Keller. And we invited some Bloods from our former rivalhood, and a few of them came, and we didn't have one fight in that park. You brothers performed. Matter of fact, y'all set it off. We have a tape of it where you cut and Joe, just set it off, and just really, really, it was like the greatest feeling was to watch y'all perform professionally. Y'all didn't have to curse. Y'all didn't have to disrespect women. It was just, y'all were performing, and it came off as a professional performance, and I'm forever grateful for that.
Anything for you.
Man, I love you for that. And another, since you bring that, some other things I feel grateful that I had ability to help is that we started doing, outreaching in the community, and we did a gang truce with a brother named Wiz and, some of the homies. And at the time, there was a big war between, our neighborhood and this other neighborhood called, UG's. And the main brothers that were part of the problem, I had grew up with the dudes from over. We went to school with the brothers over there about Washington, UG. So it was like we had a relationship with them dudes before it became a problem. And because I was a coach, I would go over to Jesse Owens, different places. Them brothers would see me and they would ask me, "What's up, man? We don't want no problem. Y'all supposed to be our brothers." So thank God the leaders of our community decided to meet with them dudes. And once we met at Maxine Waters' office a few times and made an arrangement. And the most beautiful thing was, what came out of it was one of the main brothers who he admitted he was one of the problems of the community became a solution. And that became our motto inside of what we were doing. if I'm a problem, I can be a solution. And so we had a baseball game, softball game that was sponsored by Maxine Waters' office, and the veterans came out, and they fed us, and it was one of the most beautiful days that I could experience, because it was like 700-800 people in that park, and not one fight. And we fed everybody hugging and enjoying each other. And out of that, though, became a healing for me, because again, Black, I said that I used to have a hatred for older black men because I felt that they left us. And my anger, even to this day, I don't hate them anymore. But when I learned to understand the veterans through the programs, that, hey man, these dudes left and went to war in 1819 to fight in another country way around the world, treated like dogs, come back home all messed up. They didn't have the strength. They didn't have the knowledge and information to come back and help, because they were cut off. And so rather than blame those veterans, I found out how to work with them and then how to heal with them. And so as I look at our elder black men, I understand, you know what, I don't want to become that man that sits in Winchell's or sits in McDonald's, retired every day, hollering at young girls, spending my retirement. I learned a long time ago, you will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Man, we can't take none of this with us. The Egyptians taught us, man, they was buried with their servants, their dogs, their gold, everything, man. When them people, grave robbers, open up them tombs thousands of years later, all that stuff will still sit there with them. And they didn't take that stuff to heaven with them. So,
no, they didn't. Let me add this to something before that point gets lost. That,
yes, sir.
You spoke about how you and some of the community leaders, and I gotta definitely make sure I interview Wiz, Ronald Weezer too. But
yeah,
we gotta commend you guys for actually creating a successful gang truce. See, that's not talked about enough. So I just wanted to touch on that. We're the F.U.L. family. You don't hear about people creating solutions. You just hear about the problems, and this is one of the brothers, that always fought for solutions. So that was one of those successful moments. If I can move on, because I do really appreciate you elaborating on the veterans and what kind of older men we don't want to become, and at the same time, I think you did a lot of work with the veterans. I was with you before, and sure, they was working side by side with us, giving out turkey, so you can learn understanding and kind of mend some of those differences rather, whether they don't think they understand the youth and we don't understand the elderly. So I've seen you in the trenches. And speaking of trenches, I know you've done a lot of trench work, and just want to ask you, what is one of the common problems you see from hood to hood that really ails our culture?
I mean, well, I was blessed to be able to help more than one community, both red and blue. And I think the disconnect, that more than anything, is our mothers. And I hate to say it like that, like I'm not blaming them, but it goes two ways. If you really break down our mothers' role in our homes, I just wish more young mothers would realize, you know what, I can't do it by myself. And I'd rather be alone than create another problem by raising multiple children by men who are not going to be there. Because the pain that us as children go through is that pain of desiring to say daddy. Our young girls are all messed up because they don't have a father figure to defend them, so they go after whatever they can find. Our young men don't have anybody to teach them to be a man, and so they take on the characteristics, whatever it is that's in front of them, good, bad, or indifferent, they're going to mimic it. So, the progression of that is that when you look now and you see grown men and grown boys walking around with their pants not sagging no more, their asses out, and they're standing next to a beautiful young lady, it makes you wonder, at what point did we get this way? But I've always tried to say this to any woman that will listen to me. You teach me how to treat you. And if you accept less in me as a man, that's all I'm going to give you. So what I beg for our women to understand is that the power you possess is, you got to stop saying that you're the backbone of your household. That is not your role. God created Adam and Eve. But if you want to take it from the Bible, which most of our sisters go to church and believe in God, God didn't take woman from man's spine. He knew what he was doing. He took woman from man's rib. And if you pay attention to the anatomy, the rib is one of the most fragile bones in our body. Yet his job is to protect our heart. It's to protect our vital organs, our lungs, our heart. That rib cage's job, the fragile bones, their job is to protect the most vital organs that keep us alive. So God knew what he was doing, because he said, I don't want a woman to be behind man, to have his back. I want him by her side, by his side, protecting his heart. And that's what our black woman has to do, is realize, what kind of heart did this man have? Not how good he screwed, what kind of money he got, how cute he is. Because the heart you protect is the seed you plant and the fruit you get. If you mess with a bad-hearted guy, 9 times out of 10, his genetics is going to produce kids that you're going to have to fight hard, not for them to become the same thing that their daddy was. So if you break it down, our women have to be more cautious of who they let inside them, mentally and physically. Know my heart before you know my penis. Know what I want from you. Know what I've done in the past. Know what do I really want in life. Because if you accept less, then there's no reason for a man to get up and give you more. I already got you. And that's, for me, the stickler for the gang problems and the problems in our community. Because most men will do whatever it takes to get a woman. But if a woman accepts less enough, you accept me being a homie, you accept me going to jail all the time, and you're still there, I'm going to give you a challenge, Black. Go look up or pull up, anybody listening, pull up the county jail, L.A. County Jail. And you can have somebody go down there during the day when they're visiting. You can't get in there because there's so many women gussied up, fine, dressed a big old booty with babies down there, trying to get in and see them dudes. Okay, now flip it. Go to the female jails at any day, and you can walk in there and fire a shotgun off, and you ain't gonna hit nobody because ain't no guys down there visiting the women. Those women become gay because the only love they're getting is from the women in there. So if you really break it down, it's like, why are black women accept less than us men, but when the shoe's on the foot, ain't no brother down there with no female locked up? So if you break that down, it shows you the disconnect in our family.
And this is not funny. I just want to stop you and say, that's jewels he just dropped there, F.U.L. Films. And as one of those wins was in that movie, and he was the mailman, he kept jumping down saying, message. That was it right there. Ooh, okay. I appreciate that. And thank you for sharing it. That was just deep on so many levels. But let's move on now. Let me ask you a question. Right now, they're having people want to, actually ban the Confederate flag, and I've gotten emails and inbox, and a lot of people say, well, if we get rid of the flag, the Confederate flag, what about the blue and red rag? Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, you asking somebody that actually made a bunch of shirts. If you remember, Black, I made a bunch of shirts with Confederate flags, and I had your brothers, all of us, at one night over at your house. And the shirts said, flip the script. And the joke was, and this was my plan, was, what would white folks do? Hated white folks, you know, those redneck white men do, if they saw us wearing those flags, proudly. You know what they would do? They would get up off of them, like anything else they see. You know what I mean? Our black community become black because of white flight. And the joke is that when they see a bunch of brothers wearing something, it ain't cool no more. So now they're going to have to find something. Yeah, so
that represents them. Well, we wear it too now. Now we all wear Confederate flag. They were like, all right, we got to change up. We need something else.
There you go. They would have had to find something else. So you take the sting out of it. That's how NWA and all that took the word digger and flipped it, you know, but they didn't understand the bigger picture in it. But it's so many other things that I call it co-opting, where, you know, when we start doing it, then all of a sudden now it's not cool to do. It's like now all the black kids run around wearing, you know, members only jackets. So now nobody want to wear one. You know, it's like it's a crazy thing. But the joke was, I wanted to invoke humor, and the subliminal message was, what would that right redneck man say and feel when he see a rapper or a dark-skinned dude like me proudly wearing a Confederate flag, but flipping it and making it a symbol that we say what it means. Okay, rebel, we battle. Okay, they wouldn't like it. And matter of fact, they would get up off of it because they would be ashamed of it now. You wearing, oh man, you wearing that? And so, you know, how I can prove that to you? If you live in Los Angeles, you know, there's a street that used to go from the beach all the way to the city of Compton called Compton Boulevard. And in the 80s, when the rappers started coming straight out of Compton, the city of Lawndale and other cities, Gardenas, got together, Hawthorne, and they changed that street name to Marine. And
I remember that street. When it gets going in direction over to the good areas, it's not Compton anymore, it's Marine.
It's Marine.
They changed that street. They didn't want Compton to come, that street to come to their area.
They didn't want that. They didn't want Compton nowhere in their neighborhood. So it shows you. Okay, that's just one. Now, if you break it down, Compton, it was supposed to be a respected name from a respected literary man, but they were more afraid of the new name of Compton, that they took that name off of their streets and put Marine on. So it works, man. It works. You know.
I believe it does too. I appreciate that answer too. But let me move on real quick and say, you know, I know you all the walks of life of people you met on your travels doing, you know, rather it be from your activism or, you know, social, you know, activities with people. Can you name a few of them that you've affiliated with, you know, be they famous or people that you choose?
Well, this is what I can say. Being blessed to touch some of the people that I want to touch, both famous and not famous, I was able to learn something, man, Black, that is not the star. It's the person. And you brothers, man, I say this not to be all, you know, sentimental, but you brothers have just as much stardom on y'all, and my love for y'all. I was blessed to be around Stevie Wonder. You know, I was blessed to be around Ice Cube. I helped DJ Quick get the key to the city of Compton. And, you know, it's so many, you know, MCAs and, I mean, John Singleton. I mean,
it's one name I'm waiting for you to mention.
LeVar Burton, who else? Congresswoman Waters. Man, I mean,
I think I met one of the Ali girls with you too.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Maxine
that's true.
Waters,
May Ali. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's. I'm waiting for this one name. I'm gonna give you a couple of more names.
No, I got knocked down. I can say I was blessed to get knocked down by Prince at a movie premiere.
Wow.
And what was funny was when he knocked me down, they were trying to get in the back door to John Singleton's movies. That he did with Ice Cube. And matter of fact, when he knocked me down, I didn't know who it was. He reached down and picked me up. He said, man, I'm sorry, man. You all right, man? And I'm like, and he's like, you want to get in? And I'm clearly looking up, and it's Prince that got me in my hands, man. And I'm like, so his bodyguard, they picked me up. And I'm like, I said, I'm all right. He said, you sure you don't want to come in? I said, no, I got Alameda brother right here, Prince, man. We good, man. He said, man, well, you sure, man? I just don't want you to think that I was just some Bogart, man. I said, no, man, thank you very much. And we let it go. And it just, like I said,
wow.
I've been fortunate.
Okay, I'm going to mention this name that means a lot to me, and I'm sure to you. Big brother Jim Brown.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, that's Calico, my brother Calico's father. I mean, he ain't his blood father, but I've been blessed to go up there. As a matter of fact, I could just say this, man. Jim, Mr. Brown, sometimes I think he don't like me, man. And I say that and joking,
yeah, because
he always challenges me because, Mr. Brown has seen everybody. He didn't touch everybody. And, from Minister Farrakhan on down. So he didn't heard and seen it all. But like I told him before, I'm all man. I said, and, my challenge is to him is that, I'm a community person and I'm action, not words. A lot of people go up to your house and they want to talk a good game. I said, I'm delivering it. So that's how when we would meet up his house and go up there. And one thing I felt grateful about him was when he saw me at his birthday party, he put me on stage with him. And, I feel blessed because of Calico, my brother, who brought me to the table with him, because I really didn't feel comfortable going up there until Coke brought me up there. That I feel like we owe this man before he passes. We owe him the honor of finding a way for black folks to stop this violence amongst each other, because, this man put his job, his life, his home on the line for us as a people. And what are we going to honor him with, man? I mean, why do we have to wait till somebody pass to say thank you? Why can't we, why can't we show these brothers and sisters who stepped out there for us that we get it? If we caused the problem, just like I said, I was blessed, one of my brothers, man, he wanted a program. He had an idea for something that was really important to him. And so we sat down and I said, East, West, North, and South. And in that, he's like, man, well, why don't we just do it this way, man? He came up with this thing called No Child Harm Agreement, where the hoods that we were at war with, we were going to agree, man, no children and parents and families should be harmed in any park, school, or community places where kids frequent and family frequent, meaning that our parks are going to be off limits. And I watched his brother call in every hood, both Blood and Crip, that was at war with our neighborhood. And I watched single-handedly them brothers put a peace thing together to where it wasn't like, okay, we're going to be cool by y'all. No. The message was, hey, we're going to respect yours, you respect ours. It's over. And the honor in that was there's a lot of people alive today because the brothers decided that, hey, we can't stop everything, but what we can do is help what we can for our own children and the children in our community and other
What's
children.
the name of that program, sir?
That was called Cure. And then the football team.
Love that.
Yeah, and what's amazing is that in watching it be there firsthand, remember, I wasn't a gang member, I was a community member, but being there firsthand and helping, like you said, Ronaldo, and then, Gary, this brother, man, like I said, I watched this man do this and put his life on the line and the respect on the line to make it happen. And to me,
it worked, and it actually worked. Huh?
It worked, man, and that's where
we talk about these programs more than the problems. That was the solution there, Well,
that's the blessing. Listen, so not to cut it, but look, the message that exists out of that is that if you get to the right people in every community, and if you give them the opportunity, if they the problem, they could be the solution.
Nice.
And that's the message. That's the message right there that I stand on and feel proud of, is that I watched brothers, and then they gave me the ability to bring programs to the community. And it made us all look good. It made us all feel good, man.
I like that. Listen, I got to keep it moving now.
Yes, sir.
And now, we're a $1 trillion community, consumers in America, right?
Yes, sir.
And we own little to nothing. What do you think that we can do to change that?
Ironic that you brought that up. About a year or so ago, I was thinking of a way for us to recreate the chitlin circuit. And what that meant was, back in the day when blacks weren't allowed to perform in the mainstream location, there was black places to stay, black places to perform at, black places, that was friendly to us. And so, you were able to go to these places and tour and make your money. Now, the challenge to that was, in today's time, you have so many people who look like us who sabotage what we do. So the challenge is, how can I figure out a way to use the internet and use today's, opportunities to reach people who may feel like me? Because remember, blackness is not the color, it's the soul. And so the challenge is to be able to reach people who sound and look like you, who want what you have. And so right now, I was looking at, and I hate to say this, man, but I hope somebody that's a real strong person with documentary skills take a ride through the inner city, man, and go down Vermont, go down Broadway, go down Main, go down Central, go down Western, and count the businesses that are there. And then I want you to go into these mom and pop shops and notice something that's really painful. They don't hire us. You buying hair products and weave products and, from people who don't even use the product. It's like, yet they're selling you nails and hair that they don't even use. I go into auto shops, man, my neighborhood, I found out that the owner won't hire black people because he was robbed, 15 years ago by a black dude. And half of his customers are black. So it hurts when I go into these stores and I don't see any representation that looks like me. But the only thing they want from me is the stuff that folds or slides. And I've seen Korean store owners put people out their store because they kind of look like somebody else. And it's disrespectful that I'm the customer, but you have no respect for the community and the people because, let me tell you like this, man. The liquor store on Imperial, there was a youngster got killed, and there was a young lady got killed about 2 years ago at that liquor store in front of it, and on Imperial in Vermont. So the Nation of Islam and the brothers from that over in that area at Devil Lane, they had a memorial for her. She was a known caring person. So it was a peaceful event. About 100 people showed up, candlelight vigil. But all of a sudden, the owner of the liquor store, comes running out. And he's trying to direct traffic, telling people to leave. He's disrupting his business. And so he disappears. And then he comes back and he finds the dude Bam from Devil Lane. And he walks up to him with a bottle of liquor. And he hands this big bottle of liquor to him and says, "Here, now leave. Tell the people to leave." And we looked at this. We looked at this man and said, of all the things to do, the only thing he thought that we wanted was a bottle of liquor. And what does that say about us as a people? And what does that say if think of it like this: if all your customers come in, stanking and dragging, you start to believe anybody that look like it's just the same thing. And you lose respect for your customers. And so, that's my point. My selling point is, how can I ask them to respect me when I'm forcing them to take my money? And they won't even hire your son. They won't even hire you. Yet, You gonna keep going there? We the only race of people. We the only race of people that support people who don't support us.
True.
You know, go down to Koreatown. Go down to Chinatown. Go over on the west side to where the Jewish people are. You'll see something that's real deep, Black. They got after-school culture programs, you know, for their own kids. And nobody says it's discrimination or racist, because basically they're feeding their own babies. They're educating their own children on their own history. But then you look at where they shop. You look at what they buy. You know, they don't have liquor stores on every corner and over in the communities. And then what's a joke is they getting all this cash money from us. And guess where it's going?
To their communities.
Okay. So I rest my case. You know, if you can't even get them to donate to a baseball team or help a little, you know, community event, there's something wrong with that picture. But again, just like I said before, you teach me how to treat you. If you accept less, that's all these people think they're going to give us. They have no desire to give you anything more than a 40.
A very deep and powerful statement. This is Cameron Bonner. Cameron Bonner, Mr. Bonner, social activist, political activist, my big brother to the hood, counselor and advisor, and a coach of many Little League teams. You're going to hear a lot more from him. And Cameron, if you can, give them some of your social networks, via social networks, where they could reach you at, location or, Twitter, whatnot, all your accounts.
Well, blessings again for even giving me the chance to speak on programs that I'm a part of. Main program I'm part of now is called Anti-Self-Destruction. All right? And ASN, basically the whole concept of that is that we're trying to prevent us people in our youth from destroying themselves. ASD is important, and bringing positive energy through electronic media. We teaching our children how to go out and teach, to tell stories, to find community stories, to network. And, one of the blessings that I feel being a part of ASD is this. Our image is powerful, but we don't control our image. So the goal the ASD is doing is what we're planning to do is to develop multimedia locations where we are training our children to think about the global impact of what we're producing in our community. Because break it down, NWA sold gangbanging around the world. There's Crips in Iowa. They have Crips, in Africa, and Bloods in Africa. So let's flip it now. And let's go over to the other side of the street and let's tell those stories. But this time we're gonna have our young people be the ones that tell the story, be the one that sell the story, and benefit from it.
I love it. ASD, right?
ASD, Anti-Self-Destruction. You can go to ASDinc.org and you have a chance to see. We didn't took kids to South Africa like 4 times, go to UN, Dr. Mitchell's program. And the challenge to that is that we're working with the city of Washington Prep, where we're trying to develop a program in the schools, even with charter schools and continuations, where we're trying to develop a trade program called Skill Sets. And Skill Sets is basically, we want young brothers and sisters who are falling through the cracks to learn a skill or a trade that they can take wherever. You're going to learn how to be a licensed painter. You're going to be a general contractor. You're going to learn how to, do drywall. You're going to learn how to fix a car. You're going to learn how, whatever it is that your skill set allows you to be, we're going to, fight hard for you to be able to have that skill set to where you're going to be able to eat wherever you go. So, in closing, I'll just say, thank you again.
You close yet, man, because we want to make sure you pump these media sites. I want to make sure they're clear. Where can they reach you on Facebook?
Just like I said, right now on Facebook, you just, I think it's Cameron the Man. Look for me on Facebook or, Cameron Bonner, Washington Prep. I'm under there. Proud member of the Washington Generals. That school changed my life. On another note, I'll talk about that. But, again, they can get me through you. I'm developing more social media content sites, so I'll be able to tell you the rest of that. But look for me.
I need a little more. Can I get that what was that? ASD?
INC, all one, all lowercase, ASDINC.org. And,
I just want to tell the FUL fam, you will be hearing a lot more from this guy. We got some things in the works, and, hey, support him because he supports us. Anything, last words you'd like to say, Mr. Bonner?
Yeah, well, I guess the main thing that I want to say is this. We have to get in position of learning to respect and loving each other. And black love begins with self. And so my challenge right now is let's just try to do something with your show, man. Somebody taught me something important that I hold. When you drive a car, one of the worst things you can do is stare in your rearview mirror. Meaning, it ain't what's gaining on you. It's what's in front of you have to be worried and be focused on. So I'm asking and begging my black folks not to forget the past. But if you got a problem with somebody in your community or a problem with your brothers or sisters, let's let go of that hate and hurt. Misery love company, black, and I'm not miserable no more. And I want to network with black folks, men and women and people, not just black folks, but people who have love in their heart. Let's make something happen. Let's plant some seeds. So, and if one person from your, reach out to me on that site and pledges to practice black love, let's start the movement that, that's going to be our energy, black on black love. Let's spread that. Just not Black Lives Matter, black on black love. I'm not going to fight my black people. I'm not going to diss you. I'm not going to hate on you no more. If I can't help you, I'm not going to hurt you. Black on black love, y'all.
And this is the Black Thought Interviews, the F.U.L. podcast, and we signing off. One of the best interviews I've had. Support him again, as I said, because he supports us. This is Mr. Cameron Bonner. I'm going to have all his information all on the podcast, so you can reach him, So we'll talk to you soon. Support us, and thanks again, FUL fam. Peace.
Now allow me to introduce your host, Cornelius James and Mr. Info Joe. And oh yeah, F you.